welcome. Okay, let me know if you can hear me. We'll take the first minute or so to make sure that everything is working properly and all the technology is being our friend today. So I have a little microphone here. Hopefully that sounds okay. If at any point the microphone gets too scratchy or it sounds annoying or anything like that, let me know. And if anybody would be willing to give me a little thumbs up that I sound okay, that I look okay, that'd be great. And then, yeah, just let me know where you're tuning in from today. Thank you for being here. Awesome. Okay, cool. I'm getting some all goods. Love it. Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, I am excited to be here today. I don't know how many people are here because they follow me regularly as a teacher, stumbling upon this, but I think it'll be a fun little workshop today. Normally I do live events as meditations. I like running, leading meditations on here. But today is more of a workshop type of thing. And my plan is to do a different workshop every month on different topics. And so today, since, New Year's and everything like that, intention setting, calling in the life of our dreams, etc., I figured today manifestation would be a good topic, and it's one of my favorites to talk about. It's something I talk with all my clients about. Everybody wants to know, how to call in what you want. So today we're going to be doing just that. Perfect. Hi, Faith, tuning in from Nebraska. Good to see you. Thank you for being here, everyone. Lovely, lovely. Cool. Yeah, send in some where you're tuning in from. I'm in upstate New York, so we have a whole bunch of snow outside the window. And it's also a sunny bluebird day today, which is not every day. So I'm feeling very grateful for that. Feels like a good way to round out the year. And so today I'm going to be kind of sharing my framework that I've created over time, being a therapist and a coach, that kind of helps to anchor in the understanding of the energetics of manifestation. But I'm also willing to answer any questions. If you guys come with specific questions, you can always send those in the chat, and we can kind of just roll with that afterwards. So I'll give my little presentation and then we can go from there. Perfect. Okay. Oh, from New Zealand. Wow, amazing. Thank you so much for joining. I'm sure that it's completely a different time for you right now. It's probably nighttime where you are, but thank you for being here. I did used to be in Prescott. Yes, we moved. When did we move? Over the summer. We moved over the summer. I can't remember. But yes, I did used to be in Prescott in Arizona. I'm from Arizona originally, but we have moved since then to New York, and we're really loving it. Andrea, 3 a.m. Is that 3 a.m.? Or maybe 3 p.m. I don't know. But yes, very different time. Good. Okay. So there's a decent amount of people here now, so I feel like we can get started. 4 a.m. on Friday. Oh my gosh. Wow. Okay. Holy moly. Perfect. So we'll get started with what I have to share, and like I said, you can put in any questions that you have, any specifics, and we'll just kind of go from there. Quickly about myself, my name is Maya, and I'm a spiritual life coach. My background is in therapy, and I work with all sorts of different people, mostly women at the moment. I tend to, attract women who are wanting to just kind of elevate where they are in their life. So those are the majority of my clients. But you can always find more information about that through my website, which is linked in my profile. And then I'm also going to be adding these workshops. I'm going to hopefully do a workshop every month, and then I'm going to add them all for free to somewhere on my website. I haven't made the page for it yet, but it'll be kind of like the 2026 series of workshops. So you can go and access those at some point. It's not live yet, but if you follow me on here and then you join my next one, or you send me an email or something, I can always send you that, and you can get this replay for free, as long as all of the technology works the way that it's supposed to. Okay, so are we ready? Are we ready to dive in? I'm ready. I think that we've given people enough of a window of joining. So manifestation is a big buzzword for people, right? And it's a very appealing thing when you first hear about it. And you guys will have to let me know how far down the rabbit hole of manifestation you are. There's like the entry level of, if I think something, then I will get it, right? If I think I want a new car, then I get a new car, right? That's like entry level. And then there's the understanding like, okay, well, but I have to be an energetic match for that thing. So I have to already feel like I own that new car, and I have to hold that within myself as the truth, and then I get a new car. And then there's kind of the understanding that it's more of a flow, more of a process, and it's more subtle than wanting the shiny thing and getting the shiny thing. And then that kind of disappoints people a lot of times, because that initial idea of like, oh, all I have to do is think and then I get a new car, that sounds great. That sounds so easy. And when that doesn't come to fruition, or people put energy in that direction and it doesn't quite show up the way that it wants, it's like I put energy in, but then I got this like old junker car and I didn't want that, right? And people get confused and they get upset that it's not coming in the way that they think that it's supposed to. So manifestation, really appealing at the beginning, and then kind of disheartening the further along you go, because you realize like, oh, it's actually not that simple. But the framework that I'm going to share today is equally simple, I think. Like it's a relatively simple concept. Execution, not always as simple, right? But it doesn't mean that it's not possible. I think a lot of people, they see manifestation not working for them, and they think like, oh, this is all just like hocus pocus. This is a lie. It's just all these new age people and they don't know what they're talking about and it's not working for me, so that means it doesn't work. And that's very different than, it does work. You just have to put in a little work, or you have to kind of like back off what you're thinking, or you just have to change your mind frame, your mindset around what you're calling in. And so we're going to talk about how to do that in like a really clear way, and hopefully through that you're going to see where you've been, where you can lean a little more, where you can back off a little bit, and we'll go from there. So, and let me know if you guys have thoughts or questions as we go. But I'm going to draw a little visual. I don't know if it's going to be backwards in the screen for you, but I'm just going to write like one letter to represent each thing. So hopefully you can follow along. But I have found that all good teaching devices are somehow like shape related. Oftentimes a triangle. I think a triangle is just like an ideal, there's something in the universe, right? There's like all of these perfect geometric shapes that create the universe, and I think that that's the best way to teach too. So I call it my manifestation triangle, and this is something that I came up with myself, but I came up with it a few years ago and I've never found a reason to alternate it since then. It works, people understand it. Of course, there's always nuance, there's always, little things here and there. But we're going to go into the manifestation triangle today. The reason that it's a triangle is it has 3 parts that are all equally important. And usually when people are manifesting, they focus on only one of the parts. We'll get into it. And it's also a triangle because it's not linear. It's not, okay, you first do this, and then you do this, and then you do this. It's like you do it a little bit out here, and then you do a little this, and you do this, and then you have to go back here, and it kind of jumps around. So there's not a hierarchy. Maybe I should even like draw it so there's not one on top, because there's not a hierarchy. You can go either, any direction. So let's start with the one that is what most people are doing when they think of manifestation. Well, this pen isn't the best, but hopefully we can understand that. So this is an E, if it's backwards for you, but this is an E for energy. And, you can also call it vibration, you can call it frequency, you can call it energy. They're all basically the same thing. That's a lesson for another time. But in this model, I'm going to call it energy. And energy is the thing that most people hear, like they read The Secret, or they read Abraham Hicks, or they hear some guru talking about something on some podcast somewhere, and they're talking about manifestation in the lens of the energetics of it, which is beautiful. And I love that people are talking about that, because energy is such a powerful tool. And a lot of people were not taught how to use it. So the energy of what we're manifesting gets confused. And like I said, it's like, I thought that I was manifesting this shiny new car, but then I got this like junker car and I'm not very happy about it. And, it's part of that. We need to align ourselves with what we're wanting, etc., etc. Okay, so with the energy, and I see your question. I'll get to those a little bit later because I'm going to like kind of spiel it up and then we'll get to questions. But thank you, Andrea. So the energy, really quick, understanding of that is we're all energetic beings. We're all vibrational, right? Like the computer that I'm on right now, this piece of paper, me, you, everything, we're just different vibrations of energy. So the idea that's in The Secret, that's in any of those teachings, is that if I match my energy to the thing that I want, to the car, I'm just going to keep using that as the example because it's easy to, picture, then what a lot of people think is like, I want the car, I want the car, I want the car, and that's the match, but that's not the match. Then you're matching to wanting the car. So it actually keeps you from having the car because you're matching your energy to wanting the car, right? So if you say, I want the car, I want the car, I want the car, then you're putting your energy toward wanting the car. You're not putting your energy toward having the car, right? So that's the first shift that needs to happen. It's like, okay, I'm going to shift into feeling like I already have the car, right? And I tell people this, like if they want to leave their job or they want to leave their partner or they want a new house or anything like that, if you continue to not want, and you're like, I need the next thing, I need to move on to the next thing, you're going to attract something you don't like, right? If you're focused on how you don't like the thing you're currently in, you're going to attract more of what you don't like. Whereas if you find peace in the thing that you currently have, then you can find peace in the next thing. You'll find even more peace in the next thing because your energy has aligned with peace instead of resistance and negativity, right? So, Andrea, your question was about how do you deal with negative people or negative toxic people at work, is you shift your focus from the negative toxic people at work, and then they stop being an energetic match for you. And you hold instead this frequency of like, at work, I feel calm. At work, I'm in my own bubble. At work, the people that surround me feel happy and healthy. And it's not just like a mantra. It's not just an affirmation that you're saying. Sometimes people stop at affirmations. It's not just an affirmation because you have to like feel it. You have to believe it. Energy is emotions, right? So emotions, energy in motion. People like to say that, right? So your emotions are the best indicator of what you're being a match for in your life. If your emotion is resentment, or your emotion is like need or lack or something like that, then that's the vibration you're matching. If your emotion, the energy that you're putting into motion, is calm, or your emotion is like so fulfilled, like, okay, let's say you want the new car, you have to feel in your body, and you can do meditations, you can do different things where you're like, oh, I feel what it would feel like to have that new car, and I'm so excited and I'm so happy, and I feel like I've just been given this beautiful hug and this gift, and that's how having this new car would make me feel, and I'm feeling it right now. So then, boop, match, right? Energetic match. Okay, are we following along? So energy is the first part of the triangle. It is important, but it's usually the only thing that people are talking about, and people are often talking about it backwards. You don't just sit there and want something. You don't just sit there and have an affirmation about something. You sit there and you feel, okay, let's say that I want a loving relationship. I can't sit there and think, I want a loving relationship. I feel so alone. I feel so alone. I want a loving relationship, because then the emotion that I'm having is alone and lack and sadness, right? Instead, I say, okay, I want a loving relationship. So the best that I can do, and we're always just doing the best we can do, right? What would it feel like to have a loving relationship? It would feel calm. Can I bring more calmness into myself? It would feel invigorating. Can I feel the emotion of being invigorated? Can I feel that in my body? It would feel safe. Can I feel what it would feel like to be safe in my body? And you sit there and you practice, and maybe you're picturing, this like ideal partner, right? And you're letting these emotions come through your body and move through you. And that is going to radiate out and start to magnetize to that partner, to that ideal scenario, right? And that's where meditation can be really super helpful, is like, there's so many meditations out there that are visualizations or, like working on cultivating loving awareness or things like that. Like a lot of times the meditations that I lead are just getting you heart-centered and focused and grounded. And those are the things that are going to bring in all that you want in your life. And the beautiful thing is you don't even have to have a specific thing that you're trying to manifest. You don't have to have the shiny car or the perfect partner. If you start to envelop yourself on a daily basis, on a moment-to-moment basis, as often as possible in those feelings of love and safety and abundance and all of those things, then stuff just starts to come your way, right? Stuff just starts to come your way and you're opening towards it, and you get to be surprised, right? You get to be surprised and delighted is what I say. Like whenever I'm like sending a prayer out, is I want to be surprised and delighted about whatever comes my way. I don't have to have an attachment to it. Most of the time, having an attachment to it leads you to be disappointed, because attachment is lack, and attachment is, control, and all of those things are gonna block a manifestation. So not having something specific is even better, I think. But of course, like, it's the new year. If you want to make a little vision board, things like that, go for it. But the most important thing is the energy. And even more than that, to like get to the energy is the emotion behind the energy. So the E can stand for energy, it can stand for emotion, whatever you want to use it as. Okay. That's the first part of the triangle. We can come back to that if there's questions, but I'm going to move into the second part of the triangle. The second part is, this is a horrible drawing. I'm not doing a good job, but that's an A. Hopefully you can tell that's an A. Okay, so second part is A for action. Now, most of the world, most people that are not aware of the energetics going into what they're doing, they're still manifesting things, but they're just doing it through action, right? You go to work, you come home with a paycheck, you manifested through action, right? You sell something on Facebook Marketplace and you come home with money, you manifested, right? You manifested that you got rid of the item, you manifested that you brought home money, right? That is still manifestation. That is still having an idea, wanting something, right? Like having a desire towards something and then bringing it into your life, right? You go on a dating app and you swipe, and you're like talking to people, whatever. You go on a date, you find a boyfriend, find a girlfriend, whatever. You manifested them through your actions. So a lot of times people think, like, again, like I was talking about at the beginning, manifestation is just like you sit and you think and you have a couple affirmations and then it comes to you. You have to do stuff also. You do have to do stuff. There is a tremendous amount that can be done with your emotions and your energy. And most of us are not in a place where we have such powerful control over those that we can just like make things come into our life. Sometimes I've had blips of that. I've had moments of that when I didn't have a lot of resistance around something and I just got really clear in my emotions. I've had it just come through without me having to take action. But it's going to happen faster if you take action. And us as humans, our egos really like to feel like we are in control of something. And sometimes taking action is that piece that helps us to feel in control. So most people, all day, every day, they're manifesting. Most of the people that you've ever met, most of the stuff that you've ever done in your life, right? Like you go to a car dealership and you hand the money and you drive home with a car. You manifest it. Good job. You have a new car, right? But it's not in the way that we're thinking of. So it's still an important pillar. It's not like the most, tantalizing of the pillars, but it's still an important pillar, is you have to take action. If you want a new dream job, yes, it is so important to sit and get clear on the emotions of what you want your dream job to be, to visualize what that dream job is, And it's also equally important to write a resume and apply for the job, right? There are some things, well, I won't even say that. I think that if you're really good at the energy, you don't have to put in, applications. But most of the time, you have to put in an application. There are things you have to put in an application, right? Like it's not going to just completely walk into your awareness. But if you have the energy down and then you write a resume and then you hand the resume to a person, if that's all in alignment, then you just manifested the job. So, again, not the most exciting, but just as important, and usually within people's comfort zones. Usually these two sides, and I'll get to this last one, people are not as comfortable with as the action piece. A lot of times people like to take the permission slip of like, oh, I can action myself into my dream life. People like that. That's, what so many people are selling on social media is like, oh, buy this thing, do this thing, you'll be better, you'll look better, whatever, right? It's appealing to be able to do something and have a better life. So the action piece is sort of that. Doing the action, I call it inspired action, like doing the action from a place where you're already in alignment is key though. So you have to know, you have to have the, the visualizations, you have to have the energetics, the frequency, the emotions aligned so that you know what kind of action to take. Because if you're just like taking actions and you're like, I'm going to apply to this place and this place and this place and this place, but you don't want to work at any of them, yeah, you just took a lot of action, but you're not getting any closer to what you want in your life. You're just wasting, you're wasting your energy, and your energy should be being used to like harness in and understand what you really want. And then you can be more specific about the actions that you take. Yes, are we following along? Can I get some like thumbs up? Any questions? We're feeling good? Hearts? Okay, I think we're good. Good. All right, so I'm going to move into the third one, which is everybody's least favorite, but I would say is one of the most important. And you can't do this otherwise. Thank you for the hearts. Perfect. Okay. The last side is S for surrender. People don't like the word surrender. It's the opposite of action, right? Surrender is this thing that makes us feel like we have no control. But when we're using surrender in tandem with these other two sides, then it becomes this really beautiful dance where we get to take some of the pressure off of doing everything ourselves, sort of. Now, surrender looks different for everybody. If you are somebody who has a strong faith, then surrender can be like surrendering to God. If you are somebody who, has just like a belief in your higher self, maybe, or your guides or your angels or anything like that, you can surrender to them. If you don't have any of those beliefs and you are more in the kind of like frequency realm of understanding like science and things like that, is you can surrender to the buffer of time, knowing that from the moment that you energetically align to something, there's a buffer of time that needs to pass in order for that thing to then ripple back and find you. So you can surrender into the buffer of time that it takes for the boomerang to come back, right? Most of the time, I find that people ping pong between these two things, or they get stuck in one of these two places, which is okay because it's like you want to do something. You're trying to move it forward. Surrender is the place that people avoid the most often, because surrender is, and it's different than laziness. It's not this like inaction, I'm not doing anything because I'm paralyzed by the decisions and I'm freaked out and I don't know which direction to move in. It's not that. That's just inaction. That's just nothing, right? Surrender is, okay, I aligned myself, I did all of the energy, I found the emotions that I wanted, I got clear on that, and then I took the action steps that I needed to take. And now I get to sit and I get to trust. Could also be a T for trust, right? I get to trust and surrender into the fact that I put that out into the world. And now I feel calm enough in my nervous system and I feel worthy enough as a being that I trust and I surrender to the fact that it's going to come back my direction. If you skip this part, if you skip the surrender portion, you get stuck in, oh my gosh, I need to do something, but oh no, if I need to do something, then I feel lack, and then so I need to get my energy right. So okay, I'm gonna get my energy right, but then I need to do something, and then I need to get my energy right, and we just like, I don't know if anybody else has been in that place, but I've been in that place where I'm like, oh shoot, it's up to me to create my dream life. I need to make it perfect, and I need to like be really on top of it, and I need to, if I think a bad thought, then I undid everything I just tried to manifest. Whoa, right? So surrender is also just like trusting yourself and calming your own nervous system enough to make it a sustainable process. Surrender is the most challenging part, I think, and also the place where you should be spending the most time. Action doesn't actually take that long in like most things we do. Like, sure, okay, if I want to knit a blanket, action takes a little while. I have to like physically knit the blanket, right? But like in most things, you put in a resume. Cool, that didn't take that long. Or you go on a date and you like a person. Okay, cool. Action is pretty quick. Energy can be quicker and quicker the better you get at it, right? Or it can be something that you just like move throughout your day. Once you get really good at understanding your emotions and your energy, it doesn't take a lot of effort and you can just kind of like flow with it. Surrender is something though that I think needs to be sat with a bit more and a bit longer. Because surrender is also this concept that like in this moment, right now, everything is okay. Everything is okay. I'm not in a rush. I'm not so freaked out that I need to go run out and do something. I can feel where I am. I can, in that surrender, I can recalibrate if there's an emotion that arises and like I observe it. I can adjust it, right? I can adjust it and then go back into kind of like surrender. And then if something comes up and I'm like, oh, I do actually need to take another piece of action, great. You go take another piece of action and then you kind of sit back and you surrender again and you observe. And it's sort of non-attachment, which is really hard for people. It's a little bit of non-attachment. It's a little bit of observation. It's a little bit of mindfulness. It's a little bit of grounding. And that's the place where you get the most clarity. And it's the place where you get the most like downloads and messages. And it's the place where you get the most calm and presence in your life. I don't know if anybody's read The Surrender Experiment. It's really great. Who is that? Is that Michael Singer, I think? Surrender Experiment. It's a really great book about how he just basically like lived from that place of, I'm not going to have too many opinions and I'm not going to do too much and I'm just going to see what happens. And of course his story is, great. So he wrote a book about it. I'm not suggesting you don't do anything. His was an extreme. But giving yourself the ability, the gift of being able to sit more still and more in trust and more in peace allows you then to have the momentum and the ability to like move and flow through all of these things, right? And surrender is, I think, what a lot of us are doing in a meditation space is we're working on how can I find a little bit more surrender, or whatever you call it. If you want to call it something different, if you want to call it mindfulness or trust or serenity or grace, whatever. But surrender is that place that we're trying to get to is, I don't need to do anything right now. Everything I have is already complete and perfect and beautiful within me. And I can just be in this moment. And then once that's not true and you need to take action, you take action. Or you need to move into a different energetics, then you move into the energetics of it, right? But I think that it's a really beautiful dance once you get the hang of it. And you find more fulfillment and more understanding in how to call those things in as you start to move about this triangle in a free way, right? And, this triangle is something that you can harness when you're trying to get something specific, like a new partner or a new car or a new job. And it can also just be how you live your life, which I think is really amazing because like we're manifesting all day, every day. That's all we're doing is we're creating our life in some way, right? Like if I wake up and make one decision, I'm manifesting a different life than if I wake up and make a different decision. So, those are the actions that I take. I'm creating a different life. If I wake up and I start to like ruminate about all the bad things, I'm manifesting through my energy there, and I'm going to have, less of a good day. If I hold so tightly onto all of my ideas, all my perceptions, and my ego is just so strong, fighting so diligently that I never surrender, I'm going to create a life, but I'm going to create a life that's like this gripping life that I personally don't want. I don't know, but the surrender portion is where you get to also manifest a life that feels easeful and a life that feels like you have a little bit more spaciousness and a little bit more room to grow and a little bit more room to breathe. Okay, so I see someone just joined. You can message me after this. I'm going to have this as a replay on my website. So if anybody wants the replay, you can rewatch this at some other point. Just message me and I can send you the link to that. Okay, so let's see. I have another comment. What is that? I use a similar triangle for making spirit dolls used for manifestation, but it's energy, intention, and action. But I like surrender. Yes. Okay, so see, the triangle, it always works. Triangle's really great. But energy, intention, and action, yeah, I think are really great ones. I kind of view intention and energy as similar because like when you find the intention or you find the energy, you're still like moving into the emotion of it. You're still kind of like setting the compass, I guess I would say, and then action, right? But yeah, we're all speaking the same language. That's awesome that you use that for making spirit dolls. That's really cool. Yes, and then Harmony said, I often heard people say, whatever is meant for me will be mine. Yes, I love that. So what I usually say is, what is for me will not pass me, right? And that's like the thing that I repeat to myself is, what is for me will not pass me. If it's for me, it won't pass me because it's for me. There's no way that something is for me can pass me. And if it's not for me, then it will pass me, and that's fine, right? So if it's meant for you, you're going to have it. We don't have to worry about that. Like we could, truly be doing so much less than we're currently doing in our lives every day, and the things that are for you would still come to be, right? But since we like to feel like we have a modicum of control in our lives, this, I think, is a way of like moving through those different areas of like, yes, action is beautiful. Then the surrender, what is for me will not pass me. And then aligning with the energy, which is what most people think of as the manifestation. So yeah, let me know, I hope that this is helpful. I hope that this kind of brings in some understanding and awareness. And I would be really interested in where each of you feel like your strength is, or where you would need to, where you feel like you could work a little bit more on moving into that space. I've found that most of my clients that I work with in my therapy or my life coaching are the most resistant to surrender, or the most like, oh, there's something there. Surrender is kind of scary, right? Because like we're not doing it. We don't have control. So it's scary. And that most people either really like the action or the energetics portion of it. But maybe this is different, right? Maybe you have a different way of moving through things. So I would love to know. Good morning. Hello, Eric. Thanks for being here. Harmony. Definitely struggle with surrender as well. Yep, Barbara, surrender is hard. Surrender is hard. Surrender is hard. I know. And like the ironic thing is that it's actually the easiest. Like that's the thing that is so funny is we struggle so much. Our minds struggle so much with surrender, but it's actually so easy to do. It just, we don't let ourselves do that. We don't create a nervous system. We don't create a life. We don't create a mind. We don't create spaciousness that allows us to know the beauty of surrender, or to be able to surrender. We feel like we have to effort and force our way into all of the things that we want. And I have my own opinions about like capitalism and the patriarchy and all the reasons why that's true. But in the Western world, at least in the world that so many of us live in, we're told that the only way to have a life that you like is to force your way into it, or to effort your way through, or all these different really challenging things. That's why I love, being on Insight Timer, and why I love being a coach for people is that's not the only way to live life. There's also a way of living life that brings in more surrender and more ease, right? I've been in surrender mode since long. Okay. Ketu South Node helps with surrender. Oh, interesting. Okay, perfect. See, these are the things that I don't know that I love hearing about. Thank you. What are your tips on surrendering? Okay, let's get into that in a minute. Let me finish reading these and then we'll talk about surrender. Been listening on my morning walk. Where do we message you for the link? So you can just go on my Insight Timer profile, my teacher profile, and you should be able to send me a message. So you should be able to like follow me as a teacher. You should be able to send me a message as a teacher. So just kind of like take note of yeah, where that is. And let's see. Speak at Maya. Yeah, thank you, Eric. It's funny. Yes, we're all about the hustle culture. Exactly. I know. And I would send the link right now. I don't actually have the link right now. I'm going to be uploading all of these onto my website, but I haven't done it yet because this is my first one. I'm going to be doing these workshops once a month, doing free workshops on different topics. This is the only one on manifestation, but I'm going to be doing them on different topics, and then I'm going to be putting them on my website. But it's not up there yet. My website is Medicine Moons if you want to go check it out, medicinemoons.com. But there is not a link for it yet because I'm going to like upload this will be the first video and then I'll have the link. So if you message me here, I'll have all of those in my message archive. And once I have that link, I'll send it to you guys. So just send me a message. And I'll kind of keep track of everybody that's wanting this. And then you can get, you can get the workshop for free. If you want to send in donations as a thank you, that's great. But this is just my whole goal in 2026 and also the rest of my life is to be working in alignment with spirit and to be doing things for the highest good of all and to be working under the divine. So I'm here to just like serve and help, and I really think that this is helpful for people. I hope so. So all of these workshops that I do are going to be different helpful ones. Yeah. So, okay, we had the question of tips on surrender. My first tip would be to see what you don't surrender around, honestly. My first tip would be, what do you hold the most onto, right? Like, where is your gripping? Where is your ego so strong? Like, everybody has their thing, their tension point. Is it money? Is it relationships? Is it health? What are the things that your ego really grips onto? That's first and foremost. That's like 90% of the work that I do with my clients in my own private practice. That it's just understanding where our ego grips onto things really hard. And then once you know that, it's about dissecting that story a little bit if you need to, if you feel like you need to understand the story or go deeper into the story. And it's also, so it's doing that like mental load of work and kind of decoupling yourself from the story, from the narrative, from the traumas and dramas and all of these different things that we hold as people. Because if we are holding those so tightly, we cannot surrender. If we feel that for some reason that gripping is important in our life, then we're not going to surrender because we've identified as a person that grips onto that specific thing. We've identified with that story. This is who I am. This is, the thing about me. This is my story, right? If you are gripping onto a story, surrender is going to be really hard. And even if that story is like really specific, right? Like, I'm gripping onto the fact that I need a Maserati. That's the car I have to have. That's my story. Okay, that's a story. Can we loosen that grip a little bit? Maybe a Maserati is too much car for you. Maybe that's not the safe thing. So you're not getting a Maserati because, the divine, whatever, overlooking you doesn't want you to have a Maserati because you would get in a car accident. Who knows, right? Like, maybe you need to let go of the story that it needs to be a Maserati and you let go of that grip. That's partly what surrender is. And then the other part of surrender, I truly believe, is creating a safe, secure nervous system. A calm nervous system. You can do that in a lot of ways. Again, like meditation is a huge one. Doing daily meditation can be really helpful in calming the nervous system. But there are also some minds, my mind included, that like sometimes when I'm really gripping to a story, a meditation is the last thing that I need because it just becomes this loop that I'm thinking all of this like crazy stuff and I end up leaving that meditation feeling like I'm gripping even harder sometimes, right? But if you're somebody who can meditate and kind of goose fraba all of it away, then great, do that. And then other like physical practices, right? Like yoga or going to the gym or things like that moves energy through the body. So you're not holding on to all of this stagnant energy, all of this gripping and tension. You can do some different physical exercises. You can work on like releasing your pelvic floor. That's a really big way of just alleviating the pressure on your hindbrain, which is your fight or flight nervous system brain. If we're clenching our pelvic floor all the time, it puts tension on our spinal fluid, it puts tension on that part of our brain, and then we're clenched and we're freaking out. So like even just something as simple as learning some techniques to relax your pelvic floor and releasing that pressure. There's a lot of different things. Again, this is like what I talk to my clients about all the time because it depends on who you are and where you are and what you need. But mindfulness practices, in whatever form that takes, journaling, meditation, therapy, whatever, are great. Physical exertion practices are great so that we can move the energy that's feeling stagnant in our body. Breath practices, okay, number one, probably. I can't believe I didn't say that earlier. Breath practices, really beautiful for surrender. And then any kind of faith practice that you have, I also would say is important, because if you are trying to surrender but you don't believe that anything is going to catch you, it's really hard. And whether that thing that catches you, that thing that supports you and holds you up, that thing that helps with the momentum, whether that's God or whether that's the universe or whether that's, you know, the quantum field, the quantum frequency net of all that is, whether that's your higher self, whatever it is you believe in, having some sort of faith in something also really, really helps in the process of surrender. Okay. Hopefully that's helpful, Harmony. Gives you some little places. You know, again, I could talk about this, like I could probably do a whole workshop on surrender. Maybe I will. Yeah, and again, like you're not alone. A lot of people have a hard time with that. Eric, my grip is around keeping my job. Yes. Okay. So like then if you know what your grip is, then you can kind of like just, you know, I would just have curiosity. Just have curiosity. What's the story there? What's the story about? What is that fear from? Where did that fear originate? What is the fear if the job is taken away? Are you afraid that you don't have worth? Are you afraid that you don't have money? Are you afraid, you know, that you're not going anywhere, right? Like what is the fear there? And then you just, you know, you just explore that for a little while. You just have curiosity. Interesting. When I think that, my whole body gets tense and I get angry or I get sad, right? And that's so interesting that's how I feel about, you know, keeping my job, not keeping my job, right? That's so interesting. Can I breathe through that a little bit? Can I take an inhale and an exhale and like let the story just loosen a tiny bit? Can I let it go just a little bit and put a little bit of space between me and that story? That even like, wow, if you can do that, day well spent. Good job. Like just that little bit of space that you can create is powerful, beautiful stuff. So whatever your story is, you just like get curious, and we don't have to attach to it like, oh man, my story is all this stuff and I hate that I have this story and I wish I didn't have the story and I'm so mad I even have the story. It's like, okay, fine, you can be mad, but also you can just be curious, be like, huh, yeah, this crazy story, where did that come from? This story is so wild and my mind just really runs around in circles with it. That's so interesting that my mind does that, right? My fear is I can't reach my dreams. Okay, so you know what your fear is. My fear is that I can't reach my dreams. Does practicing fearful activities like cold water help in your experience? Okay, are you talking about like cold plunges? Is that what you're talking about? Because a lot of people are into like cold plunges, which is, you know, a practice in, I can't think of the word. When you're like really dedicated to doing something, I don't know, and you're like pushing through. I can't think of the word. Cold plunges are, you know, those kinds of things are helpful in some ways and not helpful in others. I have found that cold plunges are more helpful for men than women. Overall, I think women have more of like, you know, like hormonal delicacies and things like that, and it can be really shocking to the hormonal system. That aside, I think it depends on how you use them. Like, is your intention with the cold plunge to move through fear? Or whenever I do a cold plunge, my intention with a cold plunge is to surrender. So it's funny, right? Like that you bring that up, because you can go into a cold plunge and you'd be like, oh, I'm going to be a super badass and I'm going to go in this cold plunge and like, I'm going to face my fears and it's going to be awesome. And you do it. And then like, you're just like forcing, right? You're forcing your way through this cold plunge. And it's like, okay, that's fine. If that was your goal, was to like show yourself how forceful you can be and how powerful you are, then like, awesome, you did that. That's great. That's great practice. Or your cold plunge can be, I'm going to get in this freaking cold water and I'm going to breathe and I'm going to become as calm as possible. Yes. Okay. So Eric, you're talking about surrender. Good. Because a lot of people are going in cold plunge, like really trying to amp themselves up. If you're talking surrender, I think that can be helpful. Again, like listen to your own body, listen to if it's the right, the right thing for you in that moment. But yes, if you can find ease in discomfort, that is ultimate surrender, right? And like whenever I've lasted the longest in cold plunges, I think my longest was like 10 minutes in a cold plunge. And I was freaking calm as a cucumber. I was so surrendered in that moment. And I could have gone longer. I was just like, oh, I probably should get out at this point, but like I'm not fighting it anymore. And that was such a beautiful thing to be able to do, to be like, wow, I did something that my mind wants to fight against so hard. And I moved through that to the point where I no longer wanted to fight it. I think that's a great example of a practice. I think, it's the same when women give natural labor. You're like, okay, I either like fight my way through this or I surrender my way through this. Those are the two options. Physical, physical pain in any way is a great example and a great thing for you to learn about yourself. Are you somebody who can go into a cold plunge and surrender? Or are you somebody who's like really going to grip on and you're really going to freak out the whole way through it? Right? So yeah, great question. But if you're practicing it with surrender, that's beautiful. Yep. Harmony, I think my grip might be love. Yes, love is a big one. I find that people, usually it's either love, health, or money are like the three things that people boil down to. Of course, that's like, there are others, but those are the most common ones. I feel like I'm always chasing love of all sorts. But how do I know if I'm right? I've been trying to feel love and think due to the lack of self-love. Yes. Okay. I can't feel the love from others around me, even if it's present. Yeah. So, I think that that's just something to like continue, like I said, to just be curious about like, oh, okay, I don't feel that I'm receiving love from other people, whether it's like the amount that I should be receiving or the amount that they're giving, or just feels like there's some block there. That's so interesting. Where does that come from? Is it because I don't fully love myself? Is it because I didn't feel loved when I was a kid? Is it because I don't feel, like loved from the world or the universe? Or is it a fear? Am I afraid that if I'm loved, I'm vulnerable because then the love could go away, right? Get curious about it. And again, like these are conversations I have with my client all the time. It's really helpful to do it with another person, but you can also just like get curious in your own mind, journal about it, right? Or explore it a little bit. And then once you get to understanding the story, right? Let's say that it's like, okay, it's from your childhood, right? Then you're like, okay, I have this story about the love that I receive from my childhood. Interesting. It's interesting that I have that story. And it's just a story. Is this something that I can create a little bit more space between? Like, yes, that was important and that was hard in my life and that was sad or scary or whatever it was in my childhood. Like, that is true. That is valid. And is it serving me to continue to hold it? Or can I just like a little bit let it go? Just a little bit let it go. Don't have to totally let it go. That's too scary for the mind. We don't have to totally let it go. But can I just create a little bit more space between myself and that story and fill that space in between with a little bit more surrender, a little bit more love for myself? And then you just do that over and over again. You just create a little bit more space. You just move through it a little more and you just have more curiosity and compassion. And it's not about like pretending that those things don't bother you. It's not about spiritual bypassing. It's just about like, do I want to keep holding that? Does it feel like it's still serving me? And like, yes, letting go of it is hard, but you just do it like a little bit at a time, right? So it's a process, and I'm not going to be able to like work through all of these for everybody today, but hopefully these examples are helpful for all of you because we all have something. We all have these things that that we hold and that become tension points and become our personality and our stories, and they become really important. And we then, eventually we have to decide, do I want it to continue to be important? Do I want it to continue to be in my story? Do I want to hold this forever, right? Thank you, Eric, for the donation. I really appreciate that. That's really very sweet. Thank you. Yep. Okay, let's see. In my case, it's because the one I want to feel love from doesn't know how to love. Yes, so there are so many reasons why all of this stuff like comes through, right? And loving yourself is a beautiful way of moving through that and finding more spaciousness. And like also at the end of the day, we want to feel loved by others, right? It's both things. It's holding all of this different stuff at the same time. All of this is true. And that's when, sometimes we have to take action. Sometimes we have to have a conversation with the person, and that's the action that we take. Sometimes we have to get in the energy of like loving ourselves, right? And then sometimes we have to surrender as far as like, okay, is there something in this story that I can let go of? Is there some attachment piece that I can let go of? Right? So we're kind of moving through all of it. Yes. Thank you. Thank you for all of you who shared. I really appreciate every little piece of the dynamic between all of you, and I hear all of you. And manifestation is not something that's just like shiny cars and the things like that. It's really getting into this subtle place within yourself of like, what is it that you long for? What is it that you want to embody? How is it that you want to feel every day? How do you want to wake up in the morning? Like, if I wake up and I do see that car sitting out my window, am I going to feel happy? Am I going to feel fulfilled? Or, is it eventually going to get old? And what I actually was seeking was the feeling of success, because that's different. Having a car and having success are not the same feeling, right? Like, what we're trying to manifest is a feeling within us. And that's, like Abraham Hicks and other people like that, they get into the core of that, is that like, I don't actually care what's outside of me. I don't care where I live. I don't care, like, yes, I have preferences. I want to live in a house that has heating, and, I want like to have all the, all these protective things, but like, I actually don't care about any of that. I just want to feel peace. And I want to feel joy, and I want to feel loved. I want to feel safe, right? Like, those are the things that we actually want. So yeah, find the things that you really truly want to feel, and work on not attaching too much to the external, right? That's just the hustle culture. That's just consumerism and capitalism. But what do you actually want to feel? And then what are the stories that are holding you back from that? Or what are those stories that get in your way? Like, oh, I want to feel peace, but I don't feel peace because, or I want to feel love, but I don't feel love because. Like, what is the because? What is that story? And like, look at it from all sides. Interesting story that I have there. Is there a way for me to just get a little more space from that story? And then, and then that's the process. And then you just kind of harness and you get more nuanced through all of that. And that's the alchemical process of transformation. And then on the other side of it, you get to be a more peaceful, surrendered, happy, loving person. And then you get to share that with the world. And that's really what it's all about, right? Okay, so I think I'm going to wrap us up here. I wasn't sure if I would have enough to talk about for a full hour, but apparently I did. And again, anybody who missed maybe the first part of this or anything, send me a message. I'm going to keep track of everybody that sends me a message. And then in the next week or so, I'm going to get a page on my website. I'll have this recording, and I'll send it to you. I'll send you the link. And then that will also be where you can get future recordings from these workshops that I'm going to be doing once a month here on Insight Timer. But you can also just join them live. If you want to be in the chat and you want to join them live here on Insight Timer, that'll be great too. If you'd like to know more information about me, you can always check out my website. If you'd like to send in a donation for our time together, that's very nice. And yeah, I hope that this was helpful. It seems like it was. I've been getting some hearts, and if you've just been listening, I hope that it resonated in some way. I think this is kind of a universal topic. We're all seeking to feel a little bit more of like those core beautiful emotions, right? Okay, thank you, Barbara. Thank you, Brenda. I'm glad it was helpful. I'm glad that it felt well done. Sometimes, sometimes I'm not sure if I'm conveying everything that I want to in the best way, but I hope that it came across. And yeah, good. Harmony, yes, you're so welcome. Eric, you're so welcome. Yes, beautiful. Yes, Cielo, thank you. Yes. Okay, Happy New Year. Yes, to everyone. I hope that it's a lovely one. And again, if you're somebody that's setting resolutions or visioning, what you want your 2026 to be, keep this in mind. Keep all of these things in mind. And just kind of like, yeah, work on contemplation, work on the surrender, all of those different kinds of things. And yeah, really lovely to be with all of you. Nice to spend this time together. And send me a message, follow me here. I will see you guys in the next live. Okay, thanks. Bye, everyone.